Federalist and, your TV and your media appearances. And I mean, I just want to echo what you were saying, that, Charlie is a martyr and a Christian martyr, and everything after the fact became so clear to me, and I said this in my speech at the memorial, like, he was a modern prophet. He was calling us to repent. He was calling our nation to repent. And we called them campus tours, but they were really tent revivals, complete with a tent. And the people flocked to hear him preach.
So I'm not sure if everybody realizes this, because they might know him from the early days where they were watching these clips of him engaging with college students. But his emphasis on Jesus and the Word of God really grew each year.
Yes,
and so when you're seeing the last few years, the heart that he has for people when they're bringing, it might be packaged in a left-wing political question, but he would see that this person was in need of Jesus. And so when people think about him as this, political campus guy, I think they're missing that. I'm Lutheran, and my church in DC, we held a service the Friday after he was killed to commemorate him as a martyr. And this, like, to Sean's point, this is not something we do. And we have a mixed political congregation, but our pastors were explaining, this guy was killed for his beliefs. He always explained the basis of his beliefs. And I think people have a confusion about martyrdom. Like, they think they'll hear stories from days of old, and they'll think it's like this purely religious situation with no political context. But of course, martyrs are usually killed because they're running up against political regimes with what they're having to say. And to Sean's point about being prepared to die, when we take our confirmation vows, we say, will you suffer all up to and including death before you renounce this? And everybody, of course, says, yes, we will. But I mean, in recent years, it's been that realization, like, oh, that might not be so theoretical now.
Well, that's why the memorial was so powerful. I remember we were overseas when we got the news, and I remember just getting on my knees and begging God, almost thinking I could outsmart God. God, save him so that his life will glorify you. And, I got it here. And then God answered, no. Wait till I see how his death will glorify me. And to witness the amazing power of Christian martyrdom, I mean, I wish it hadn't happened. Boy, I wish it hadn't happened. But to see the fires being lit because of the power of his faith and the power of everyone else's faith was truly, truly remarkable. We've never witnessed anything like that in this country.
And then we're going to have Virginia residents chime in. Well, you're not, but she is.
Yeah. So this is all unfolding in Virginia. This is Jay Jones. He's the Democrat running for Attorney General in Virginia. So chief law enforcement officer.
So, like, the top
of
cop.
The state. Top cop. And so this is published by National Review last week. It's covering text messages from 2022. What had happened then was a moderate Democrat had died, and there had been a funeral for him, and a Republican who was also somewhat moderate had given, a generally positive eulogy at a memorial or the funeral, something like that. And afterwards, Jones sends text messages, and he meant to send this to someone else, Mark. We don't know what Mark yet, I believe, where he's just basically saying, barf, I'm so annoyed at this, positive saccharine stuff. And he says, if I die, they'll say something gross about me. But then, even though he realizes he's been sending this to the wrong person, and in fact it's a Republican in the state legislature, he just starts going off. Let's put up 231. And so he says, 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, that's the Republican he's mad at. Hitler and Pol Pot. Gilbert, if you have 3 people, 2 bullets, Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head over Hitler and over Pol Pot.
We do have these images. So,
and 231.
There it is.
And he says, spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time.
Jeez,
and the Republican replies, Jay, please stop. And what's incredible about this is his reaction to this is not to stop or say, oh, sorry, I meant this for someone else. According to National Review, what he proceeded to do was call this woman on the phone, and we don't have that conversation, but according to someone familiar, probably the woman herself, he proceeds to berate her and, push her and say, like, no, I really mean this. Stop being soft on the death question. And he apparently told her that he wished violence on the children of a colleague and joked about shooting Todd Gilbert. and he hoped that Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. And then after this call, he starts sending follow-up texts where he's still needling her on this and saying, no, you don't get it. When children die, it's the only way that people will change their views on politics. So I actually said on X that I'm somewhat understanding if this was, he was talking to a friend of his and said an extreme thing as a one-off. People say weird things in group text. They say stuff they don't really mean because they're heated and it's private. But this is, he sent a message to someone who didn't agree with it. They said, that's gross. You shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
And he calls them to harangue them for not agreeing this, for being soft on the death of your opponent's children question. And repeatedly did this. We have more. Let's put up 232. He sent additional messages where he said, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. And then 233, I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes. Said all of this. So this has all come out now. And what we've seen is Democrats are basically saying, too bad, he's a Democrat. He should still stay in the race and we should vote for him.
234 is a really important
234. Image. This is the Virginia Beach Democrats. That is the largest city in Virginia, where they say that they're still supporting Jones despite recent press spotlighting past mistakes. Now, for comparison, because this is relevant, this guy, Jay Jones, publicly called for the resignation of a Norfolk Police Department officer because he donated money to Kyle Rittenhouse's defense fund in 2020.
Yeah.
So donating to support someone who was acquitted after he was attacked
and was in self-defense.
Yeah, in self-defense after being attacked by a literal sex predator in the streets of Kenosha.
A whole mob. But
a whole mob, but specifically the one he shot. And should be fired for donating to that defense. But this guy directly, repeatedly, emphatically fantasizes about the violent death of his opponent's children.
Well, so Molly and Sean, have any Democrats disavowed?
What does that say when Joe Scarborough is your moral North Star?
I think after the election, Joe actually, tried to say, hey, we need to wake up a little bit. I saw some clips, at least.
Andrew, Sean always tells me I'm too nice, and I want to say that to you right now. You're way too nice.
Well, listen, I'm feeling warm feelings that, okay, I'm not going crazy. You should get out of this race, Jay Jones. You should. And at least one person, I'm looking for somebody here. It's like John Fetterman sometimes makes me go good for him, even though he doesn't vote the right way.
The opposite. So that letter you showed from the Virginia Beach Democrats, 8 other Democrat committees in Virginia have signed on to that letter. That letter says, by the way, who among us has not done something similar? And I'm thinking,
among us has not called somebody?
I've never called for the assassination of my political opponents or wished death on their children ever. I mean, it wouldn't even occur to me. But I think they're telling on themselves there when they say this. The reason why everyone's standing behind him and doing so vociferously is because I think we're seeing a party that has kind of fallen into support for left-wing violence. The thing you mentioned, Blake, about him going after that police lieutenant, who I think lost his career, by the way, for that $25 donation to Kyle Rittenhouse, is that it's all in the same package as the support for BLM riots. It's about the breakdown of law and order. It's about using power to go after your political opponents and do so violently. And it's kind of breaking out into the open. It's related to what we saw after the assassination. Was the response to the assassination was almost more horrifying in some ways, realizing that there were so many people who supported this level of political violence against people like me and my children.
Well, I mean, that's really sick because, you guys are, and you're in the DC swamp, so you see this. I mean, what bothered me, I'll never forget the most, was where there was a shouting match on the floor of Congress over a moment of silence and a word of prayer. And Ilhan Omar and AOC are getting in there. I mean, I could not believe it. And God bless Anna Paulina Luna for standing up for Charlie. But I was like, can we not have unanimity about political violence? Are we really at that point as a country where some people are like, well, punch a Nazi, it's really taken to the next level, especially in the aftermath of what happened to Charlie. You would think that would be like an aha moment. And instead for some people, it's the exact opposite. great Molly Hemingway and Sean Davis from the Federalist, also joined by Blake Neff, and I'm Andrew Colbert. So, Molly, Sean, I feel like Democrats are just sort of anti-rule of law, and and this is something we've known for a long time, but it's being exposed like deeper and deeper. It's not just a meme anymore. It's not just like a one-liner. It truly is starting to feel like if the country falls into their hands again, that I don't even want to think about it. I saw your eyes instantly. It's really a scary thought, because there's one side that still believes in rules and norms and customs and laws, and there's another side that just seems to be throwing out all these rules, and although they will accuse us of the same, which is hilarious. But your thought, like, is there any sanity left in this party, or what do we do to get them back to sanity?
I really think that the era that we saw post the first Trump presidency, where the left used lawfare to go after political opponents, try to keep Trump and other Republicans from being on the ballot, trying to throw them in prison, bankrupt them, go after their family, go after anyone who supported them, that went on with pretty much no resistance. Not just no resistance from corporate media, but also not much resistance from the right. I mean, normal people were horrified by it. It's a big reason why Trump won again when he ran again in 2024. But it put us on a very bad path, and you don't hear people really dealing with that, or how even the Russia collusion hoax that began in 2016 was a way of using our justice system to go after political opponents. It's always kind of been there, human nature being what it is. It's always been there, and you've had to fight against it. It just broke out completely into the open with no guardrails from anybody on the left that I can see.
Oh yeah, I mean, if they get power again, we're all going to gulags. Like there will be gulags. We will be some of the first people there. They're not even bashful about saying what they believe. When they will go out and praise the murder of someone, I mean, there were public universities, taxpayer-funded universities, that were allowing people using taxpayer funds to praise Charlie's murderer. So when people will openly go out and be like, yeah, I'm glad that person I disliked is dead, they're letting you know there's no limit to what they will do.
It's such a ghoulish,
to take power.
It would never
demonic.
occur to me to be like, it's like, and then they're trying to compare it to George Floyd, right? And I remember thinking, like, listen, I'm no fan. I don't like what happened in the aftermath, but there is not a shred, an ounce in my person that isn't sad that he is dead. You know what I mean? Like, I am sad that that incident took his life. I will disagree on a lot of things around it, but to imagine, finding joy in somebody parting this life prematurely in any way, shape, or form is just, unless it's the state and death penalty, sure, but like it's just such a nasty, ghoulish, like, vile thing to do, and yet they've lost all sense of decency that they were doing it in the open. They were putting it on social media as if like they were going to get praised for it.
I do think this is an area where people on the right are, through their naivete or lack of imagination, aren't dealing with all these loud signs that are happening everywhere.
My algorithm is different than their algorithm.
But yeah, I'm just saying they're being kind of open about their support for violence. The New York Times is open about it. The Atlantic is open about it. The Democrats in Virginia are very open about it. And I think people on the right, because we aren't people who seek the death of our political opponents, we're kind of like, what do you think they're saying here? Well, they're saying it pretty loudly. I don't know exactly what the right response to this is, but I think it's definitely incumbent upon people to take it very seriously.
The struggle that we have, kind of being in like the political commentary DC news space, is that there's still a lot of dinosaurs on the right who think we'll win through the power of our ideas. That's all we have to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I don't think we're, like, naive here. I really don't. But it's still so shocking that it's even worse than... I mean, we knew they were coming from... As Charlie predicted, he was going to be in the gulags if Trump didn't win. But it's just one of those amazing things. And now they're trying... It's funny, I've seen this comms director for Gavin Newsom. So this judge, I guess, what is it, South Carolina or something? The house catches on fire. And I don't have the judge's name. I don't know if you know the name of the judge. But then this Izzy Garden guy, throw this clip up if you can, this image up, is basically saying, a few weeks ago, one of Trump's top DOJ officials publicly targeted this judge. Today, the judge's home is on fire. Basically trying to take the fact that we're all complaining about political violence targeting conservatives and both sidesing it.
A couple things here, first of all. I mean, the house, by the way, didn't just burn down. It exploded. It was very bad. There is an arson investigation, but also could be a gas line explosion. Like, nobody knows anything right now. But nobody, even if they're very upset with left-wing judges completely not following the law of the land and trying to do some kind of judicial coup, nobody seeks the death of these people.
You know what you're exceptional at? You're very, very good at a lot of things. But if there's ever kind of like a weird hoax thing, you know, where they're twisting some narrative and they've got some new, you can feel it's like new hoax alert, right? Just go to the Federalist. Molly's probably got a piece out in about 24 hours where it's really thorough, or one of your other journalists would. It's really a great service that you do for the movement, I have to say.
Thanks. Very happy to do
it. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think we discovered accidentally something that y'all probably knew for a while, that when you're not based in D.C. and when you don't have everyone who lives in D.C., you get a different perspective. You get exposed to normal people who have different views and opinions than the consensus in Washington. And it frees you up to just say what you think and what you believe. And with us having most of our writers, nearly all of our freelancers out living normal lives out in real America, it really changes your perspective on politics. And it kind of gives you the courage and the freedom you need to just say what you believe.
I love that. And everybody should check out The Federalist. Truly one of the gems and most important publications that we have in the conservative movement. It's thoughtful, it's smart, but you get some face. We were prepping for that. We were getting ready and kind of diving into, you know, some of his ideas, if you could call them that. I think they're just pure, like, animal instincts, pun intended. So, yeah, I mean, that's really infuriating. Okay, let's just play this out. What did they say?
I mean, they didn't really have an argument. It all boils down to the fact that, you know, Piker speaks to an audience of young people on the left. And their only way to sort of like understand comparisons in this regard is who is your audience, rather than what you do or what you promote or the ideas that are animating your, you know, public activism. And I mean, like, either with Floyd or with Piker, it does kind of make sense. I mean, the left is offering up a kind of valorization and promotion and celebration of degeneracy and weakness and frailty. And Hassan Piker, yes, he's got like a big Twitch show, but his life consists of, and this is his own words, 7 hours a day, 7 days a week, in that room, shocking his dog apparently, and, you know, spouting off on Twitch, on a gamer stream. Nothing wrong with gaming. I love gaming. I'm a gamer myself. Whereas Charlie, of course, at the age of 31, has built this a massive enterprise that consists of not just his show, not just the talking, but, you know, you guys have employed hundreds of people, all motivated to do good at TV Action, TPUSA, etc. So there's just an obvious difference between the caliber of person here.
Shock Jock, Hassan Piker, Katie Porter, you know, maybe don't think that they're connected, but they are, because these are these mask-off moments, and we are seeing the character of the people of the left. This is my running thesis. So I first need to know, Blake, mashed potato.
So just to remind people who Katie Porter is, she's running for governor of California. I believe she's currently in the House. And so she was giving an interview with, I believe, CBS News.
Yep, Sacramento, local Sacramento.
Yeah, I think we should get the breaking things, then we'll get into the potato stuff.
I'm just so curious.
So she was giving this interview where they just ask a total, that total softball question, like, how are you going to reach across the aisle to the people who voted for the other side in the last election?
Politics 101.
Let's just play clip 87.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win?
Let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say.
So you don't
I feel like this is unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
The question is the same thing I asked everybody.
You have it written and I'll answer it.
And we've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered.
I don't care. I don't care.
Lovely woman. You could feel the energy. So the reason I call her mashed potatoes Katie Porter, besides physically resembling a pile of mashed potatoes, is in this is 2023. The New York Post had some documents from, I believe, her divorce proceedings against a former husband. And her former husband accused her of throwing toys, books, and other objects at him during their marriage, and even allegedly poured scalding hot mashed potatoes on his head during a fight.
Yeah, and I believe the person that first broke this story, the comment from one of the ex-staffers of Katie Porter said, "Just imagine what she's like when the cameras are not rolling." All right, Lomas, your turn. What do you make of this?
Katie Porter to me is the sort of apotheosis of liberal politics at this point. She's what I'd call a sort of longhouse matron. I kind of like the fact that people like her are in the spotlight because it demonstrates perfectly the sort of personality type that runs Democratic politics and runs the aforementioned institutions we were talking about. It's just, at all times you're surrounded by, a vice principal, third grade teacher who's slapping you on the, hands with a ruler for telling like a joke, during a, math lesson or something. And if this is the view that, mainstream voters have of the Democratic Party, that's going to be great for us and for our agenda. So I support this fully. I wish Katie Porter the best. I want to see more of Katie Porter in the news.
Well, what strikes me is that when they can't argue their points, or where they just don't feel like they owe anybody an explanation for something, they just get morally indignant. And that is a cousin to some of I believe it's all related to some of the people feeling justified to do whatever they want when they disagree with somebody, whether that's political violence, whether that's moral indignation, turning off an interview. There is this sense that they don't deserve to explain themselves. They don't owe it to anybody, which is they don't deserve to be questioned. Which is a phenomenally striking moment for somebody running to be the governor of the largest economy, with a state with the largest economy in the country.
Yeah, and also just you get that element where almost certainly this is a left-leaning news operation that she's interviewing with, but actually, if you talk to liberals enough or just see them in their own habitat, they often have this belief that the media is right-wing. I recently saw this kook on X who said that the Washington Post is this like far-right paper now.
Oh, because of Jeff Bezos? Or
yeah, just...
It's no passage press, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that I will say, as somebody who has some experience in California, there's such a lack of input from conservatives now in the state that some of the journalists want to kind of they want to get a piece of that action and kind of act like conservatives still play. And by the way, there's millions of amazing patriots in California. You were a professor at UC Riverside. I mean, this.
In fact, I've known Porter for a decade because she's from the Irvine area, which is where I taught at UC Irvine. And people forget California has more Trump voters than any other state in the country. There are millions of Trump voters in California. There are very good people there. And it's a huge mistake for conservatives just to write it off. And it's the same problem with conservatives saying that like they hope Mom Donnie wins in New York because, these coastal elites deserve what they get. Well, actually, we want to preserve the best places in this country and make them better. We don't want to see them get worse. The problem in California is multifold, but one of which is that normal middle-class people who want to raise kids, want to have families, want to have decent jobs, have left, and they're leaving en masse. And California actually has net out domestic migration. So natives are leaving more so than people coming in. So it's a state that's increasingly run by the left, by coastal liberals, quote unquote, but also masses of immigrants who just don't have the same sense of inheritance of this place that, California natives have. So it's a place that I want to see rescued. And, I hope one day for a reconquista of California.
Jonathan Keeperman, Lomas, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.